Welcome back to 556 Media. As you guessed it, we're in the shop right now. We're going to step out of the shop real quick, but come back in. And you know I do videos about survival stuff, prepping, and things like that. You've seen the one about my hiking pack, which also doubles as a bug out bag. I do have a second bag that is twice the size of this, that's used, generally speaking, for bug out extra equipment, so I'll just grab both bags when I need to. But the other thing that we need to talk about is what you have in your vehicle. So we'll get into mine real quick. So as many of you know, I drive a Chevy Z71 pickup truck with short bed crew cab, and I have the toolbox on it. I have the low profile toolbox, but it holds a lot of gear. And I'm going to try and go over most of this stuff in different videos, but today we're just going to take out the rescue bag, and this has to go back in the shop. This is heavy. All right, after a quick visit to the toolbox in the back of the truck, we're back out here in the shop, and we're going to go over this rescue bag. And yeah, it's a generic old Gauls rescue bag. Those that are familiar with Gauls, it's a public safety equipment company. For those that aren't, but here's some of the gear that I keep in my rescue bag, and I'll explain it as I go along. So the first thing, they were kind of stuffed in there, gloves. Of course, I'm a glove guy. These are Oakley's. I've been wearing these exact same gloves for years and years. I get them directly from Oakley. I wore them on the job for many, many years, been through many, many pairs of these things. They're great to protect your hands. They're easy to work with. So that's the first thing in the rescue bag. You can see right here, this is a long length of rope, and this is climbing rated rope, so you use this for rappelling and things like that. Let me pull it out of the rescue bag real quick. So while this is climbing rope, those of you that do rappel and do caving and other things, mountain climbing, what have you, know this is not an extremely long length of climbing rope, rappelling rope. However, what you will see that this is enough to get me over the edge of, say, a guardrail along a highway, down an embankment, towards a creek, especially where I live. There's lots of back roads and two-lane roads that have valleys that go down into creeks. Guardrails, vehicles crash off the roadways all the time. Sometimes there's no guardrails, sometimes they are, but if I need to reach a victim, at least I have some climbing rope, a good length to use to tie off to my truck, a guardrail, a tree, things like that, and I can climb down to the victim and actually use the same rope to extract the victim back up. All right, so also in the rescue bag, I have this. It's called the gut belt, but it's actually for fire rescue purposes. It's a truck belt. Normally worn by firefighters when you're up in a bucket of a aerial tower, or you wear it if you have a straight stick. Anyway, there's ways for you to carry tools, also secure yourself safely using attachments, rope, webbing, things like that, so you don't fall off. However, these are rated for self-rescue purposes, which means rappelling, like bailing out of a window, things like that in a fire, or if you have to, unfortunately, bail off your ladder, your truck, your tower platform, whatever you have this ability. Wearing this around your personal protective equipment, your fire gear, your turnout gear. So I have a couple of these, and I keep one in my rescue bag in case I have to do what I just said with the rope. I can just strap this on. You can see I got the carabiners, a figure 8 descender. I'm ready to go. I can just throw this on, use the equipment, and take myself down to where a victim is, and I can carry my EMS gear as well while I'm doing that, provide initial treatment until more treatment arrives, or at least get down there to them and maybe extract them from whatever bad scenario that they're in. And this right here, this is what I was just talking about. This would attach to my belt. I have it detached right now just for storage purposes in the bag, but this would generally be attached to the belt that I just showed you, and this is a bailout rig. So I'm not going to pull all the rope out of here, but it's climbing rated up to a certain length and weight. But this is what firefighters generally use to bail out of a window, things like that. There's carabiners built in, or not built in, but attached to the rope. All I have to do is grab on, hook it on to my belt system, and bail out, lower myself down to a safe location. So just a couple other things. These are also climbing rated ropes, although smaller in diameter and less weight. But you can see here, those, again, no rappelling and climbing. This is used to make a prusik or a prusik, however you want to pronounce it. And so is this. I just have one pre-made. And that's used to tie around your larger climbing rope. You can Google your own information on that. But I've got two lengths, one pre-made and one that's ready to be made into a prusik or a prusik. And this setup, this rope setup with the carabiner, you can use it for climbing. It is weight rated, and again, smaller than actual rappelling rope, climbing rope. However, I would use something like this to lower gear or attach gear to myself to be lowered, that type of thing. Attach it to that belt that I showed you, and just use this to either pass down gear or have somebody else pass down gear to me once I've made my descent to wherever I'm going to assist a person. Finally, as far as rope goes, because I was always big into rope rescue, got a lot of training in it, both rappelling, high angle rescue, water rescue, and this is for water rescue. This is what's called a throw bag. So there's a large length of line. If you have somebody in the water, someone overboard, you would just pull out this rope, you throw the whole bag, and the rope deploys. It has to be packed correctly. So the rope deploys out to the victim. You can attach on either end. You can attach weighted objects, say a life ring or a carabiner or something like that. But this is for water rescue. This is not for climbing or rappelling or anything like that. So just to get somebody a length of rope, and there's a pretty good length of rope in here that is overboard, river rescue, use the ocean rescue, river rescue, anything. It can be land-based rescue, or it could be marine-based, meaning you're on a boat and use this rope to rescue somebody in the water. But there's a water rescue component. And this kind of ties into all of it, particularly the climbing, descending, rappelling, all that stuff. This is 1-inch webbing. This is good stuff. This isn't like cheap stuff that you buy. This was actually purchased from Fire Rescue EMS store. It's made specifically for using to tie off your carabiners and rope to, say, trees, tires, guardrails, anything. You use this to make a tie-off point, attach your carabiner that's attached to your rescue rope, and go from there. So got a pretty good, it's about a 50-foot length, 1 inch, and I keep it plastic wrapped just to protect it. So keep that in a rescue bag as well. So another belt that I have, which is not as heavy duty or rated as high as the first belt that I showed you. However, you still can use this for climbing, descending, that type of thing. It does have a rated attachment point for your carabiner and rope. This is something I would use if I had a light rescue situation, or I could have it roped down or bring it down with me to attach to a victim and attach a carabiner and rope to them. So it's basically just a backup belt system with an attachment for rope and carabiner. So a few housekeeping items for the remainder that's in this bag. These are chocks. These are generally used to wedge sprinkler heads that have activated to kind of like keep the water flow down to a minimum. Wedge doors open, to keep them open. What I've used them for, aside from the fire rescue service and law enforcement, in the urban areas, we go to apartment buildings that had secure doors. So the first one to come in, and we had these, well, I had them distributed throughout several shifts. So officers always had at least one. They could open a door, put one of these wedges in it, and keeps it open for the next officer that shows up or fire rescue EMS that shows up. But in particular, in this bag, it can be used for that purpose, as well as any other purpose that a wedge could come in handy. So holding open a door, perfect. So it's good to have them. So they're in the bag. And this one's wood. These are made of heavy duty plastic, like a thermoplastic. So these two small components, these are, I know this is a wedge, but this is for a different purpose. This is a non-marring wedge, and this is a non-marring protector. These two tools are used when you are conducting a locksmithing operation, basically getting into a vehicle, unlocking the door using other tools. Now, I'm not showing the other tools that I have, but I do have them. I also have them. I have them in my shop. I have them in my truck. I have them in my car. But these are to assist in using a separate tool to gain access to a vehicle, to unlock it, to say take out an infant, a toddler, a child, or someone that's in there locked in a hot vehicle, or somebody that's locked their keys out of a vehicle. So there's those two small items. So wrapping up the little housekeeping items, of course, a light stick. Yes, I do have a separate tool bag in my truck, but I like to have a multi-purpose screwdriver so I can change out bits. You know, if I need to use it as far as locks, say, on a building or a house, anything for that purpose, or vehicle things like that that I need to a screwdriver with multiple bits for. I at least have that and don't have to carry the big tool bag as well. And the light sticks. Light sticks are great at night when you're doing rope work, particularly for rescue, marking locations, things like that. Now, obviously, this one needs to be replaced. I haven't replaced it in a couple of years. Shows some storage wear, and they do have an expiration date, so I will be replacing that with a new one soon. All right, down to the last two tools in the rescue bag. This is a multi-purpose tool. Obviously, it looks like an axe. You can use it for chopping, prying, cutting. It's also a tool used and designed to shut off gas, water, things like that. You can see the little wrench at the end here. You can see this big open end, this open end here. So this is a small, compact, multi-tool used when you want to gain access to utilities and shut off access to certain utilities. So we have that too. And the reason why you shut off access to certain utilities like gas and water and things like that is to protect the people that are doing the rescues as well as the victims. And speaking of utilities, here's the final item. Those in the fire rescue business will recognize this. We were just speaking about water and shutting off utilities. Well, this is also to gain access to utilities, but it is to gain access to a water supply. This is a hydrant wrench. It's an adjustable wrench used to open fire hydrants, take the valve covers off, to open the water source, also to join hose couplers, things like that. And the reason why I have it is because I've used them for many, many, many years on board fire apparatus, but also if I ever need to access water, I have a means to do that. So they're not that expensive, and I have one. They weigh a ton. But it's always good to have another means to access water, and this is what I choose to carry. So that's a glimpse into the rescue bag component of what I carry in my truck, in my work box, every day. And these items require some level of training for the most part to use. Actually, they do require some training to use properly, but it's always nice to have equipment on hand when you need it. So I carry this in my truck every day. You never know. And there's been many times where I've had to use my medical gear, this rescue bag, other tools that I carry in my truck just to help somebody out or pull off on the side of the highway to help victims of an accident or something like that. So that's why I have this stuff. Trained in it, experienced in it, and it's nice to have it. So I'll get into the rest of the toolbox as we go along. There's also other tools that kind of related to this, but we'll get into it as we go along. Kind of going to be a short series. Anyway, thanks for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Catch you on the next one.